For everybody watching and listening, there's one massive word that is hanging over this. It's risk. Like, dude, I respect the shit out of you, man. Like,
thanks, man.
$115 million.
Yeah, and there's a book out there. If you guys have not read it, it's called Who Moved My Cheese? There's 3 mice in a maze, and every day there's food that's dropped into the maze. And after a while, the food stops coming. They start to starve, and they start debating what they should do. 2 of the mice are like, hey, like, we should stay. Maybe the food's gonna come back. And when the 3rd mice is like, the food hasn't been here in a few months. If we don't leave, we're gonna die. And they're like, yeah, but what if we leave and we die? He's like, we're gonna die anyway.
Yeah.
He's like, we have to leave. It's now or never, baby.
Shawn French, what up? This one luck, I let the pain inspire me. I put my all in everything I'm doing. Up until it's done, I'm me for the entirety. I put it in overtime, I be working. Just know I'ma go for mine, cause I earned it. They watching, I know it's time, I confirmed it. A whole society determined success.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. This is the Determined Society. I'm your host, Shawn French. Before I introduce today's guest, I want you to go subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Follow us on all the socials at the Determined Society and at the Shawn French, SHAWN. And lastly, if you get something out of this episode, you know somebody that can gain a ton of insight or some inspiration from it, please send it to them. So today I have an amazing CEO, entrepreneur. He's from Elite CEOs. He's an author, and he crossed $100 million in sales in 6 years. And he had a goal at 22 to become a millionaire by 27. And at that time, at 22, he only had $2,000 net to his name, and he absolutely hit that goal. And he's an amazing individual. Tanner Chidester, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for the intro. That was I should carry you around everywhere. It was amazing.
Yeah, come on. Can you carry me around everywhere?
I mean, I might need to.
I mean, dude, seriously, I could be your hype guy. I'd be like, fuck, man, let's do this.
It's pretty good hype right there.
Dude,
I appreciate that.
It's nuts, man. Like we've had interaction over the years, and finally got to meet you in person today. And for me, it's really neat. Like, as I started my journey looking at people, because like you didn't really know me, man. I looked up to you, man. I looked at you, everything you built. I'm like, this dude's dope, man. One day maybe I can interview this guy. And here we are 4 years later.
Yeah, look at that. That's cool.
You know,
appreciate that.
Manifestation, bro.
Yeah, there you go.
And you're more handsome in person than you are on.
Yeah, I'm a little fluffier than I usually am right now, but I appreciate that.
Dude, if that's fluffy, dog, like
for me, it like I'm just usually super shredded, and so like I'm still trying to get rid of the Uber Eats demolishing.
Interesting story. Well, good thing you're probably triggered by the XL I brought you today. It's like, damn, this bastard.
No, you're good.
Oh my God. So dude, like you mentioned the Uber Eats, man, right? And you're a very shredded dude. You know, you built your business on the backbone of fitness, right? And always shredded. So, you know, I think a lot of people can relate to setbacks and gaining weight. You know, I've recently lost 30 pounds with the help of Jeff Delaney and my buddy Josiah Novak. And, you know, so I understand that, but you had an interesting reason why you got so fluffy, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you share that story with the audience of what happened?
So yeah, very interesting. So usually I get up for the gym, 5 a.m., sometimes 4:30, but like just 5 a.m. give or take. And I live in downtown Miami, so where I'm at, driving is just pointless. Like, and when I say pointless, I think it's a waste of time. Okay. So I had 3 cars, got rid of those, was Ubering a lot, and then one of my buddies, who knows if he had it out for me, he said, hey bro, you should get a scooter. You get a scooter, drive it to the gym. And I was taking it to the gym and all was well. And then the gym moved locations. Okay. And when it moved locations, there's this small set of train tracks that you have to go over. And so I was scootering super early in the morning, no one's barely awake. And I saw the train tracks and I thought, yeah, you probably should get off and walk. That was a thought. And then I just said, fuck it. Like in my head, I'm like, it's fine. So I'm going about 20 to 25 miles an hour. And next thing you know, I wake up in the hospital. I mean, that's the first thing I remember. No, I don't even remember it that well, to be honest with you. And I had a massive concussion. So I fell, hit my head, looked like I just went 12 rounds with Muhammad Ali. And I had about a 2-week period, like January 10th to 24th, because people had to tell me where I don't remember anything. And they're showing me videos and pictures and all this stuff, and I don't really have a recollection. The doctor said that's partially what can happen. But what they did say is I was ordering Uber Eats every day for every meal. And so I actually looked at my Uber Eats app, and I could show you. It's absurd.
Let me live vicariously through you, because this is exciting to me.
Yeah.
What were you ordering? I know you ordered a shit ton of donuts. Yeah, look at it. Fuck it. Pull it up, dude.
Yeah, it was bad. Let me go in here and just like, they have a picture of me eating an ice cream cake for breakfast, you know? So let's go.
For breakfast?
Yeah, for breakfast. So,
dude, that's living life, bro.
Yeah, so let's go back a couple weeks.
Okay.
Chipotle, Smash Bros, Mama Restaurant, Salt and Straw Ice Cream, May Crazy Bloom, The Salty Donut, The Meltdown, IHOP, Dunkin', LA Social. And that was right there. That was 3 days. What I just listed off.
Dude, the Salty Donut in Midtown, though?
Yeah.
So good.
Skinny Louie, Fireman Derek's Bake Shop. And you got to remember, these are probably $50 to $100 a pop. It's great. Midtown Creamery, Papa John's, the Salty Donut, Baskin Robbins, Cold Stone Creamery. I mean, dude, it's crazy what I was ordering.
Yeah.
And so, what was funny is, 2 weeks go by, and then I finally start, just having more of a memory, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. And I looked in the mirror, and it was fine, but I was like, wow, like I'm 15 pounds heavier, and I'm still trying to get that weight off right now, because usually I'm like 190, I'm like 6'2"-ish, and I'm like 193-ish.
Okay.
And right now I'm probably 210.
Okay.
And so it's technically not bad, but just to my standards, what I'm used to.
Yeah.
And that was my Uber Eats journey and weight loss journey. Is I don't remember it, and so it was the vacation that I don't remember. Unfortunately, I didn't get
fucking wild.
Yeah, I had all that food and I don't remember. And my friends and family were telling me that they would say like, "Hey man, maybe you should have something healthy." And I was like, "Nah, F you." Like I was just like, I'm doing what I want. And they said one of the side effects of a concussion is you can just be aggressive and like you lose some inhibition. And so I equate it probably like if I was like severely drunk, maybe that's kind of how I was acting. Like, yeah, whatever. Like, and so long story short, I don't remember much, but it was kind of funny to get that insight after.
It's wild. It probably impacted the people that are closest to you, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. They were worried.
Yeah.
They were worried.
I know. Your girlfriend was like having a moment. You guys had to.
I feel bad for her because she said I wasn't being very nice to her, and I even recently, this was like yesterday. I've been really busy since I got back, like quote unquote in health, and I'm still recovering technically. So this week was crazy. Like every single day this week, I've been working probably 16 hours. Like I wake up, I work all day, I go to sleep, like dead serious. And she just said like I wasn't being as nice as I usually am, and she said a comment where they said like some of the side effects can be like, longer term is, your personality changes, and like, I'm a little worried you're not going to get back to like your sweet self. So yeah, like for her, my mom, or like even one of my friends, I think they just kind of got the worst version of me. Yeah. And the funny part is I always tell them, I don't think I could handle the worst version of me. Dude. Cause I'm pretty belligerent. Like I'm going to say what I say. And it's like, if you don't like it, I don't care. And I'm not usually like that with people, but in those cases I could totally understand. And they show me videos and pictures, and I honestly was like, yeah, I mean, if I was taking care of me, I probably would have left type deal.
But you know what? And I want the audience to really tune in on this. Like there's going to be moments that you're not your best self. Right. And like, that was, and a lot of times, like I've been like that. And I didn't have an excuse. I just had a lot of trauma, a lot of depression, and lack of confidence of that nature. Now I wasn't yelling at people, but like I wasn't my best self, right? Sure. So it's all kind of, I guess, I don't want to say relevant, but it's all kind of equal. I mean, you had a severe head injury, and so the people that were taking care of you, like your friends, your mom, your girl, while that's hurtful, they know. And they talk like, yo, this isn't Tanner. Like this is not him, but, listening to these stories and listening to your mom and listening to your girl, how have you dealt with those emotions of like, man, like I was being an ass?
Well, the first time I noticed is I took my girl on a date, and she was telling me about it, and I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah. And I actually had no idea. And she's like, well, you were like doing this and you're doing this. She's like, do you remember? I was like, no. Yeah. And she started showing me stuff, and it was just more shock. I said, I'm so sorry. I just don't remember.
Yeah.
But I genuinely didn't remember. And so it was more, I remember when I had it, I wasn't super upset at myself. It was because if I remembered, sure, but I didn't. I was just more in shock that I've never experienced, this is the first time in my entire life, obviously, that I've done something that I don't remember. You know, it almost felt like short-term Alzheimer's, right?
Damn,
dude. They were just telling me stuff and I said, what are you talking about? Right. And she even said that was the second time she told me, I've already told you this before. I said, when?
Baby, you know, men don't listen.
Yeah. I was like, when did you tell me this? So I felt bad from that sense because I think I was putting them through a lot more and I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
And then when they showed me, I just was in shock because I didn't remember. And that shocked me that I didn't remember that. I hit the ground so hard that I didn't remember my actions for a couple of weeks. Yeah.
You know, it's wild. We've talked about this, you know, prior to recording, but like you literally are lucky to be alive.
Yeah, they were saying that. We were talking about that today. In fact, you know, I don't know. I don't read too much into that in the sense of like I live, so maybe I'm supposed to still be here. But I remember thinking, you know, I'm really proud of what I've accomplished. So if I had died, I would have been okay with it.
Yeah.
Which most people can't ever say. And so that is probably one of the most positive feelings I've ever had, is to sit there and go, you know, you could have died. And that makes you look back and reflect on your life. And I sat there and thought, like, obviously I'm not perfect, but in terms of my effort, my effort was perfect. And that's really all you can do in terms of, I think, having a fulfilling life is, did you do your best at all times? And as far as I know, as far as I've looked back in my life, like I've tried consistently to just be the best version of myself.
Dude, I can look back at, you know, when I got my journey started 4 years ago, just like coming into an acquaintance of you, you know, seeing you on social media, I can see how you would come to that conclusion, man. Right? It's like, okay, like, well, you've built everything that you said you were going to build. You know, Gentry even came along for the ride and you got him involved too, right? So, you know, you're a leader of leaders, you know what I mean? Like, this is truly what you've done, and you've helped so many people create sales in their lives where they can be successful and change their whole outcome, right? I want to ask you though, because like I look at things and I'm like, dude, if I were to die today, I would not be okay with it. There's an added level, right? So like for me, I have 3 children, right? And wife.
Oh God.
So you know what I'm saying, dude? So like for me, like I'd be like, oh my God, my young babies are going to grow up without a dad. So like, while you're super content, it's a different perspective, right?
Sure.
But like, I oftentimes get so scared and paralyzed, and sometimes, and honestly, dude, like I'll be driving down the road and thinking about this shit and I'll cry. Like a bitch. Like I will be in tears, dude. And I ain't afraid to admit it. You know, I've had people look over, I'm like, just don't look at me. I'm like fantasizing of myself dying, and like, what is my youngest going to even remember me? Like,
I mean, that, I think, that makes sense, because you're not just living for yourself anymore. You have other people to worry about. I guess like for me, you know, I got siblings, I have parents, but overall, like I'm living my life. You know, they're in different cities and stuff like that. But I could definitely understand that. But I still think if you don't have control over something, let's say I was in that situation, I still would try to at least look at, what did I do? Everything I felt I could do, because I think where regret stems from is when we look back and go, I could have done better. I should have done this. I should have done that. I should have tried harder. I should have bought that thing. I should have done, you know.
Yeah.
And for me, like I don't think I've had a lot of opportunities in life where I've really missed. I've made mistakes for sure. I've messed stuff up. But, you know, not everything's gone perfect. But in terms of my effort, like I've looked at my life and I feel like I've taken the risks that I wanted to take. I've tried to do the things I've tried to do. I put it in the time. Like I do the things I say I'm going to do. Like I don't have too many regrets.
Yeah, I love that. So it's awesome, dude. Like, hey, absolutely. Like when you look at it like that, it's, you can only do what you can do in this life. Right. So let's get into the shit. So we've covered everything that you're going through right now. And this show is about overcoming obstacles and turning them into opportunities.
Oh, there you go.
And dude, like no doubt, like this thing you went through, you know, the short-term memory loss, you know, the blurred vision, you know, the Tourette's towards the people that you love the most, like you're going to come out better for it. Right. Like it's part of your journey. It's part of the things that we talk about that are along the way that make you the person that you're going to be ultimately. Right. So it's going to serve you if you let it, and you will. But let's dive into what the audience probably really, really, truly also wants to hear is like, dude, you've built an amazing empire.
Thanks.
Like walk them through it, dude.
Yeah. So I didn't grow up with anyone in my family been an entrepreneur, so that was never something on my mind. In fact, I got bullied a lot as a kid, and then at 12 years old, my dad turned me on to the gym, and so my entire purpose from 12 to probably 22 years old, the same way I attacked business, I attacked athletics. Partially that was because when I got into the gym and I started lifting, I excelled at sports. People stopped messing with me. I got, compliments, and I said, man, like this sport thing, there's something to it. And I pushed as hard as I could. I remember when I was 14 years old, I still look back and I'm amazed at some of the stuff I've done, because I look back at a 14-year-old kid and I wanted to be on varsity so bad that year that I would do 3 hours of lifting, 3 hours of running, 3 hours of basketball, because I was a two-sport athlete at the time. And that's all I did the whole summer as a 14-year-old, which is not normal. And I remember I made varsity, and I just had these things start happening in my life where I said, man, I can do anything.
Yeah,
I can,
man.
it was like, I know he's in trouble right now, but Sean Combs or P. Diddy, he has a video out there where he's like on the phone. It cuts stories on the phone. He's like, yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And then he like slams the phone down and he got some big deal done. And he's like, what's next? He's like, what's next? He's like, I can do anything. Like, he's like, what's next? Like, and I kind of had that attitude at that age as a kid. So I played till I'm 22 years old. I get a lot of injuries in college. High school was fine, but when I got to college, being 225 in high school, you're big. 225 in college, you ain't big.
For what sport? Football?
No, football,
Okay.
yeah. And so when I played Division I football at BYU for a bit, and the linemen there were 300 pounds across the board. So I shredded my shoulders. I had labrum surgeries. Your labrum is pretty much like a clock. So one was 8 out of 12 was ripped. The other one was, I believe, 6 out of 12. So I had to replace both my shoulders, and then I rehabbed and I came back, and the day I came back, I tore them again. And that was when I said, bro, like, this isn't worth it. This isn't going to happen for me, because it was 6 months of recovery, and I would train harder than any person. I'd put a candle to any person like that. I'd train harder. There's no way.
Dude, this is so dope. Because here's the deal. What I didn't know that you were a Division I football.
Yeah.
Did you not play baseball at LSU?
No, I didn't.
It was Division I baseball. I played in the College World Series.
That's better, by the way. Like,
no, it's not.
Save your bodies. No, save your
Yeah,
bodies.
seriously. I don't. Yeah. But like, I also had shoulder reconstruction.
Yeah,
surgery, right?
baseball is super common.
But like, for me, dude, in high school, I was bullied until everybody saw how good I could throw a baseball.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a cheat code. And for me, when I saw that, and because I grew up in Texas as well, 'cause that's where I grew up. It's like, if you're king of the castle at football, you're the king.
You're the man.
You're the man.
Yeah.
I was captain. I was captain of my high school football team. Like, I was.
Yeah.
So when that was done, I started just going to school, and I would say for 3 months it was fun, because 12 to 22, my entire life was sports. So the way I attack business now, people might hear 16-hour day. They're like, yeah, whatever. But like, I actually will do it. So in athletics, I was working crazy hours because I was going to school, and then I would usually do between 4 to 6 hours of athletics a day. And the reason was, like, I just wanted to be the best I could be. And I thought, my dad told me, he's like, look, you're an average white boy. He's like, you got to freaking bring it, bro. He's like, you don't have enough talent,
Wow.
And that was my mindset too, because I saw I played with some first round picks. Like,
What position were you?
linebacker.
Linebacker.
Yeah, I was even bigger. I was big. Like, I was fluffy, don't get me wrong, but I was like 235.
Okay.
Yeah, I was big. And I played with Ezekiel Ansah, first round pick, 5th pick in the draft. I played with Randy Gregory. He went to the Cowboys. He actually would have gone higher in the draft, but he couldn't stop smoking weed. And I played with some very talented, Damian Williams. He played for the Chiefs for a while. I don't know if he's still running back there, but some very talented guys who went in the 1st or 2nd round. Like, so these were very talented athletes. And when sports ended for me, I was doing petroleum engineering. I had a 3.9 and everything was fine. But I just remember getting so depressed, thinking, man, this is it.
Yeah.
Like, this is the next part of my life. And I hated it.
Yeah.
And so I remember one day I sat down at lunch with, it was a mentor. And he, at the time, I didn't even know he was a mentor. He was just a friend of my dad's, and he asked me to lunch. And his whole reason he asked me to lunch is because, my parents raised me very religious, and I wasn't going to church. So he was actually trying to get me to go to church. And we just started talking, though, and he said, hey, dude, what's your goals? And I said, I want to make a frick ton of money. And he said, why? And, my dad was a teacher. Not that my dad was one of the to this day, I actually give my work ethic to my dad.
That's awesome.
But he was a teacher. My mom stayed at home. There were 7 kids, so there wasn't a lot of extra. It was pretty much like, hey, like we're going to provide the basics for you. You guys got to get everything else. And so when I said that, he goes, oh, dude, he's like, well, there's way better ways to make money than having a job. I was like what? He's like, start a business. And at that time, the mechanics of business didn't make any sense to me. I mean, we were sitting at Subway and I was like, I don't know how they get the stuff, how they get the worker. I had no idea how business worked.
Yeah.
So long story short, he said, hey, if you agree to go back to church, I'll mentor you at my home office. You can come in every day and quit school. And so for a couple of months, I wrestled with that because the semester was almost done. And so I wrestled with, do I quit school or do I stay in school? Because I had a year left to graduate. And pretty much everyone was against it. My family was against it. My parents were against it. Like they weren't, don't get me wrong, they weren't like, oh my gosh, if you do this, you're so stupid. They were kind of like, it's probably not a good idea. My girlfriend at the time threatened to leave me. Her mom was like, yo, like we don't support this. So it comes down to the day, and I was actually getting transferred to Texas A&M, which is one of the top engineering programs in the country.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And I remember I was talking to them, and then, they're like, so yeah, like, are you coming this semester? And I said, 1 second. And I paused and I looked at my mentor and I said, like, I'm just going like this. And he knew like what they were asking. He goes like this. He's like, don't do it. Don't do it. And I remember I got back on the phone. I said, hey, I'm not coming this semester. And it was like, that person didn't care, but they were like, okay, blah, blah, blah. And then the call ended.
Yeah.
And I hung up the phone and I remember looking at him and he's like,
how did you feel at that moment?
Oh, bro, I was scared shitless. I mean, because everyone besides him told me not to. The only reason I think I did it too is I wanted to believe him. I was like, I so bad did not want to go to school. I was like, this gets me out of school. This is a, get out of jail free card.
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
And so he started teaching me everything about marketing. In fact, he's married to one of Russell Brunson's cousins.
Get out of here.
That's that. So he taught me all about the ClickFunnels world. That's how I got in that. So he starts teaching me about opt-in pages and websites and all this stuff. And I was trying to sell a very cheap fitness program. It's $47 called the Rapid Muscle System. Now, it didn't sell, but everything to build a product and sell it, I learned. So, I mean, that's a huge amount of information in it's probably like a year. So at the end of the year, I'm not making any money. And so I make the excuse. I say, oh, well, like if I had money, like I'd make money. The reason I'm not making money is I don't have money, the common excuse.
Sure.
So I said, look, dude, I appreciate everything done. I'm going to go up to Utah. My family's up there. I'm 24 years old. I want to meet a girl, whatever. And So I go up there and I start doing serving. And then I meet a guy who does door-to-door sales, and they start selling me on, the door-to-door sales. Oh, you make so much money, and that's not true. That's not true. But I started doing door-to-door sales. I sold for a company up there called Alder, which is a competitor to Vivint. Vivint's pretty well known, so most people know who Vivint is. And I was selling security alarms. Yeah. And we went down to Alabama, and I sold security alarms 6 days a week. Pretty much 12 hours a day, including travel time, 4 hours of travel, 2 hours there, 2 hours back, usually 8 hours of work. And I sold for the next 9 months.
Wow.
And I did the math and I knocked on over 21,000 doors probably.
So I want to, can I back up?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Because I just feel like there's so many great things and the audience is listening like, oh my God, I want to bring this, I want to tie it up for him because it's all this shit's so fucking powerful.
Yeah, sure.
So what I want you guys listening and watching is to latch onto this massive aspect of it. As a young athlete, he was working 16 hours a day, doing whatever you could, right, to get the edge, whether it was lifting, running, etc. And he brought those principles into business now. And as a former,
I didn't have a college, just for everyone listening, like I didn't have a college life. So most of the athletes, the reason they fail, this is my personal opinion, because I played with athletes and they get the you're an idiot stigma, is because after practice, which is 6 hours, and after you've been in school for 8 hours, the last thing you want to do is more work. And I would usually then go do 2 to 3 hours of homework. Most of the guys would go hang out with girls. Which,
that's what I did.
To be frank, like I much would have rather hang out with girls, but I was so disciplined to the sense of, I want to have straight A's and I want to be a good athlete. And so that's kind of the route I went.
See, that's it. That's the point. Mm-hmm. Thank you for interjecting. That's the point. Yeah. I was the guy that went out, hung out with girls.
Yeah.
I mean, you're an LSU baseball player.
Yeah. Most of the guys, and we'd have tutors. So the tutors would do the homework, or pretty much like, even if they didn't do it, it was like they pretty much baby feed the answer. Yeah. But so what happens is with most athletes is in college, they get A's on the homework, they'll fail the test.
Exactly.
And the test is what gets them the C passing grade.
Exactly, dude. And so like the point is like you were able to take that discipline and the daily disciplines, right? Mm-hmm. In order to move that ball forward for you. And you took that and you've done it inside your business, because I've seen things from you, man. Like I paid attention, bro. I've been paying attention over the years. You know, it's like, what if you sent 30 DMs a day? You know, what's the close? What's the how many people do you get on a call? What's your close ratio? Could you make 10 grand? Probably.
Yeah.
Right. But that's how it starts.
Sure. Yeah. It just starts with that first step. And I think also just from a young age, like my dad just worked so hard, but he was a teacher. And like, so my dad, if I look at him and I was to describe him, my dad is one of the hardest workers I know. He just doesn't know how to make money in a better vehicle. And I took that from him though. I like the hard work ethic I really took. So, long story short, after I start doing door-to-door sales, after 9 months, I'm a savage. Like this is a silver lining, right? Because at the time I'm going, like I've been out of school for 2 years now. I'm not making any money. I was calling my mentor saying, hey man, I think I'm going to go back. Yeah. I was about to turn 25 and the worst thought I could think of was being a 25 or 26-year-old loser. And I'm like, bro, no girls want to date me. Like I'm broke. I got no money. I have a shitty car. I was like, and I wasn't dating at the time either because I didn't even feel like I had anything to offer.
Sure.
So long story short, we finished the summer. And when we finished the summer, you take like a little break. I was going to do year-round sales because I didn't know what else to do. So they moved us out to South Carolina and I see an ad that says how to start your online fitness business. Now, I was not familiar with online marketing or coaching.
What year was this? I'm sorry. What year was it?
Yeah, dude, this was 2016 or 17.
Okay.
Like, I mean,
that's the inception of it.
This is the beginning.
Yeah.
Beginning, right? So I see an ad that says how to start online fitness business. And I was not big on social media. I was not big with like coaching or consulting. I didn't even know that was a thing, to be honest. I was just, this whole industry, no idea it existed. So I click on the ad. I get on a call, I get high pressure sell, like, hey, if you don't buy today, you never can buy. And I'm just eating the whole thing. I remember I had $2,000 in my bank account. So I put $1,000 down. I had $1,000 left. I got a credit card. I didn't have a credit card yet. So I was 24, 25 years old. Had never gotten got a credit card for, it was literally $5,000 and I paid the $4,000 and I got in the program. Okay. So I get in the program and I just say, hey, I'm going to do this as hard as I can for the next 2 months before summer sales start and see if it works. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, I'll either stick with summer sales or go back to school or whatever. Right. So I get in and the guy's personality didn't really gel with me. Like it was very hypey and I'm not a hypey guy. I'm like, tell me what I need to know. Yeah. Like that, like, let's say Andy Elliott, like all respect to Andy Elliott, but like the militaristic screaming, I'm just like, bro, I will kick all your asses. Yeah. Just tell me what I need to do. I don't need no hype.
I can't even go there with him.
Yeah, right. So some people like that. It's just not a fit for me. So long story short, I get annoyed and I say, guys, like I go to the coach. I'm like, dude, look, just tell me what to do. Just tell me in basic terms what to do. I don't need all these freaking hype videos. Yeah. Okay. Raise your price from $47 to $1,500 and then get them on a call. And I said, that's it. Like, and in my mind, at $5,000 at the time was, $50,000.
Yeah, so sure, I get it.
I was pissed in the sense, man, you're telling me I paid you all this money. That's what you're going to tell me. Okay. but I said, I have nothing better to do. I have nothing to lose. I already spent the money, so I got to figure it out. Yeah. So I start reaching out to people on my social media. I start booking calls and I get the person on, I close a $2,000 sell. And I'm like, holy shit. Yeah. I get another guy on, I close a $2,000 sell. I'm like, holy shit. Then I raise the price. I'm like, I close a guy at $3,000. I'm like, oh my God. I close another guy at $3,000. So I make 10 grand. And this is like within a week. And keep in mind, I'm going from summer hot, door sales in Alabama, 98-degree heat, sweating like you're sweating so much. You start getting, like you couldn't even use baby powder because you chafe. Yeah. Like you chafe on your legs and stuff. And so in a week, I make 10K in my underwear in AC. Like I remember closing.
That's what's up.
So I call my parents and I say, Mom and Dad, I figured it out. I'm like, listen, I'm going to come home. Let me know what a fair amount of money is for rent. And I'm going to take all the money and put it in the business. And my parents were super cool. They've always been supportive of whatever. Even if they didn't think it was going to work, like they still supported me.
Yeah. Make your own decisions.
Yeah. They were just like, you're a dumbass. Right. Yeah. But my parents are like, okay, like as long as you're not, pillaging and plundering and, doing crazy stuff, doing drugs, you can live here. And they're like, well, let's just stay here for $1,000 of rent. And I was like, okay, great. That's saved me $2,000 a month. So I drove across the country. I actually closed a deal in the car while I'm driving. I remember it was actually probably the best deal I've ever done, because I closed this guy $2,500 pay in full, and I was driving, like I was trying to get the PayPal thing. It was super dangerous. Like anyone listening, don't do this, but I'm trying to like get PayPal to work while I'm driving. I can't. So I pull over and I close him. And the second he hangs up, I'm just like, yeah, mother ever. Like I just scream.
Yeah, you're jacked up.
Yeah. I'm like, I cannot believe it took me 2 years to get to this point. And at the time I almost felt, man, I wasted 2 years. I was this close the whole time.
Yeah.
But there were all those silver linings there, because the reality is, if I hadn't done door-to-door sales, if I hadn't learned how to build a product and the sales and all that stuff, when this moment happened, I wouldn't have been prepared for it.
Well, you can't even appreciate the success if you haven't gone through the shit, dude.
No, but it's also silver linings. Like I used to think, oh, if I hadn't done that, I would have gone there faster. That's not how success works.
No.
Failure is the requirement to success. And so not figuring it out in the beginning, all those skills got me ready, because when I got here, I think success is three things: characteristics, beliefs, and skills. I was building character and beliefs. I just didn't have all the skills. So as soon as I had all the skills, it was game over, because it's like I had all three.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so anyways, I go home and I just locked myself in the room. My dad would see me once every 2 weeks, if that. And I remember at the time he was kind of like, yo, bro, like whatever. But I was so determined not to go backwards that I was sitting there all day. And all I did at that moment is I would message everyone on my social media. When I ran out of that, I would reach out to people on IG hashtags. So I'd type in like fit mom, fit dad, fit spo, whatever. And I would make sure that all I did all day was like set calls, book calls, handle my clients. And before you knew it, in a couple of months, I was doing $50,000 a month. In fact, I was messaging so much. I don't know if you can see on camera, but I would get arthritis right here in my thumbs. From the typing. And the doctors were like, yo, what are you doing? They're like, you got to get off your phone. I was like, no, I can't. I was like, I can't. Like, this is how I make money. But because that was happening, I realized, yo, I got to figure out paid traffic. Like, I can't be doing this for the rest of my life. This is killing me. It was actually like I was getting sick. I was working so much that the only time my parents would see me is when I would eat. And my parents were happy in the sense that, man, this kid isn't causing us any problems. There would be some other parents I would joke with my parents, like, man, I'm sorry your son's home. And they're like, my son's making money, dude.
My son's killing.
Yeah. So long story short, when I got to $50,000 a month, I realized, okay, this isn't going to work for me long term. So I went back to 30 grand on purpose. Like, I just messaged a little less, and I used those hours to hire coaches and learn ads. And it took me, 50 grand. And right before my fifth coach, so I went through 4 coaches, and, for one reason or another, we can get into it, they didn't work. And it wasn't because of me though, which is rare. Most people listening on this podcast, it is your fault. But in my case, I was doing 10 times the work, and I'm going, man, like, this isn't working, like, it's not me. It's like, it's something about the process. So I remember my dad sat me down. He goes, son, you've made, hundreds of thousands of dollars. He's like, you'd actually be further ahead if you just didn't pay these coaches. But I remember thinking, no, Dad, like, this isn't sustainable. Like, I have to figure out a better way to get consistent lead gen. So once we did that, once I did that, it took me, that fifth coach, and I was running webinars, and I was doing kind of the traditional marketing, and it wasn't working. And I remember I texted that coach. I was pissed. And I just said, dude, mother F this. Like, you told me you were different. You were the same. And like, looking back now, I think I should have given some grace. Cause like, now that I've consulted, it was like 50% my fault, 50% their fault. Like they were doing the work, but what they were showing me just wasn't working for me. And because I'd had so many coaches already, I was just like done. Right?
Yeah, dude.
Like, come on, bro. Like, give me the juice. So he calls me, and he basically said, either like do the work or shut up and we'll refund you. And I remember when he did that, I felt challenged. And, you know, my personality and being an athlete, I was like, all right, F you, mother. I was like, all right, I'll show you.
All right,
I was kind of like, all right, I'll show you.
That
bro.
chip on your shoulder. That you.
So what had happened is a lot of the ads I've been running through ManyChat. ManyChat, for anyone who doesn't know, at the time, Facebook Messenger wasn't what it is now. It was, you couldn't really run ads to Messenger like you can now. So years ago, I used something called ManyChat, and that, just think of ManyChat as the activation tool. So someone would click on the ManyChat link and boom, Facebook Messenger will open. So all my leads that I'd been running ads to, $20,000 worth of ads, were in Facebook Messenger. And I was like, I just started following up with everyone. I was like, hey, this is Tanner. What's your goal? Hey, this is, and in that week, I made $18,000 off $3,000. And and before I was making a 1-to-1 ratio on my ads. Like, this is pointless. And then that week I made $18,000 off $3,000. And then that was when I actually sat in my room and I went, if you watch on camera, I was like, holy shit, I'm going to be rich. Like that was the moment I knew I was going to be rich, because if you can run paid traffic profitably, it's over.
No,
like it's game over. It's like it's like being viral or being famous like Mr. Beast. It's like, it's over.
Yeah.
Like, you've won. Yeah. So the second that happened, I just doubled down, and at the end of the year, I'd done over $1 million. So I got my ClickFunnels plaque, right? If you're familiar with ClickFunnels, Russell Brunson. Yeah. So I get the plaque and I go to the award ceremony and I like stand on stage, and, you know, and a flood of trainers start hitting me up because they're like, oh, this Tanner Chidester guy, like he built $1 million business that wasn't consulting.
Right.
And so because of that, I started consulting trainers. And that year was great because when I started consulting these trainers, it was like, at first I said no. And the reason I said no is, you know, I didn't want to be scammy. I was like, oh, F business coaches. They just overcharge, and most of them haven't built real businesses.
It's true.
So long story short, I start coaching people on this because there's a line out the door. Like, you guys got to remember, I'm 25 years old. I had 15 people who would pay me 10 grand. So I was like, 150 grand for like, to just show you what I did. I was like, okay. So I started doing that, and I pretty much equaled the businesses out because the fitness business was doing like 120, and this business got up there pretty quick, like almost instantly. And I just said, okay, like I see more potential here. So I went all in on the consulting. And that year, to this day, that's still the craziest year of my life. I think it was 2018, 2019. We went from 1 million to $10 million.
That's insane.
It was like Grant Cardone would have been proud, right? He's like 10x, right?
This literally happened.
It literally happened. And because that went so well and we got more awards, more people outside of fitness started asking me for help. And then we went 10 to 15 million. And then at 15 million, we started adding in other divisions like elite ads, elite closure, which cause what we did is we said, hey, what do our clients want? And it was a bunch of done for you services. So we started adding those in, and that added another 10 million. So we went from 0 to 25 million a year in 4 years. And then, you know, I've been doing that ever since. And now I have more portfolio companies, and I have other ventures I'm doing now because I want to expand. Like, I don't want to like die and people are just like, this is what Tanner's known for. This is just not what I want to be known for. But just looking back, what's crazy, and I'll end on this, is just, to this day, I made 115 million, right? And if I'd been an engineer, I would have made in 6 years, 600 grand. And so the opportunity difference and cost is $114.4 million. And that is mind blowing. Now, granted, not all of that's profit, right?
Sure.
But let's say 30% profit even. It's like the amount of money that I made, it's so much different. It's crazy. And I think a lot of people go through life, and that actually reinforced to me to keep working hard, because I think a lot of people go through life and they don't work hard, or they don't try, or they don't try to go for their goals. And so when they die, then they find out, oh, if I had just done these things, maybe I would have had this life. But they never know what they're living because they never tried. I look at it as if I had gone down that path to be an engineer, I'd be sitting here right now, maybe made 600-700 grand, have a decent family life, whatever. Sure. And I never would have known that the other life, an opportunity for me would have been what it is now.
See, that's the thing though. And for everybody watching and listening, there's one big outline, just massive word that is hanging over this. It's risk. Like, you either risk what you risked and have that big outcome and that big payoff, or you risk not doing it and never knowing. Like, and I just really feel that, Like, dude, I respect the shit out of you, man. Like,
Thanks, man.
Like, now that I'm actually sitting here in front of you in person, I'm like, damn, dude, I wish I would have made it work with you like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. There's still time.
Yeah,
There's still time, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is like, you don't know everybody's journey. You don't know what people are thinking. But the fact that, dude, $115 million.
Yeah, and
bro.
to go off your point of risk, something that really changed my perspective on it, and I think part of what helped me push is I didn't perceive it as risky, and here's why. There's a book out there. If you guys have not read it, it's called Who Moved My Cheese?
I've never heard about that one. Yeah.
It's a good book. And so the summary of the book is the whole book's about mice till the very end, right? And you find out right at the end what it's about. And so there's 3 mice in a maze, and every day there's food that's dropped into the maze. And like, as you're reading the book, you don't really know like what's going on. You're kind of like, okay, and it's kind of weird. But long story short, these mice are eating, and after a while, the food stops coming. And so these mice, they start to starve, and they start debating what they should do. And like 2 of the mice are like, hey, like we should stay. Maybe the food's going to come back. And when the 3rd mice is like, dude, you know, the food hasn't been here in a few months. If we don't leave, we're going to die. And they're like, yeah, but what if we leave and we die? He's like, we're going to die anyway.
Yeah.
He's like, we have to leave. So long story short, that mouse leaves, and he goes through this like hard journey, and eventually he finds food, long story short, right? And then he goes back one day, and those 2 mice are gone. It doesn't say they died or anything, but you can kind of infer.
Yeah, sure.
And then right at that point, the author comes in and goes, this is how stupid humans are. And I was like,
fuck.
And the point he was trying to make is he goes, if you leave a job and it doesn't work out, or you do a thing and it doesn't work out, you can always go back to the thing that you hate. So like in those mice, it's like, let's say you go out and risk it. He's like, you're probably going to die staying here. If you go out and you die anyways, like, or if you go out and you risk dying, he's like, you would have died here. And he's like, worst case, you can go back. Like you can literally decide to turn around and go back. And that really gave me a lot of comfort, because I thought, man, if I fail at this thing, I can always go back to school. And even though I'll be embarrassed that I'm 28 or 29 or 30, and my mentor said, he goes, you know, Tanner, he's like, you're the best part of your life. And I said, why? He goes, bro, he's like, when you start having a girl and you start having kids, he's like, your tolerance for risk is going to go way down.
It's hard, bro.
Because he's like, now you're affecting other people. He's like, it's hard. Right now, he goes, if you go out and you get that job and you're doing $100,000 a year and you meet a girl, there is 0% chance she's going to allow you or want you to go back and start a business. Yeah. Because they have a certain lifestyle they're used to. And so he goes, right. He's like, it's now or never, baby. And I just was like, I just remember thinking, I got to do it then.
Yeah.
And so just to give that perspective for people listening, because I understand it's scary. I understand there's risk. But when you all think about it too, like one of my friends, you guys will probably know who it is, but he always says, you know, we're going to die. Like one day you're going to die. Like nothing's a big deal. You're going to die. Yeah. And he's right. And so sometimes what happens too is when I'm having a tough day or something's happened, I'm like, whatever, we're all going to die.
We're all going to, it's fine, whatever.
And whenever he actually sent me a picture one time, he has a picture of the galaxy and it showed Earth and there's a little arrow and Earth was like this big. And
Jesus.
Yeah, it's just
that's crazy. Just perspective.
Yeah, and I remember when he said that, then it's like, if we're all gonna die and it doesn't really matter, and for the grand scheme, maybe most people won't remember us or what we did, then it's like there's nothing else to do than just let it all hang out. Mm-hmm. And that's given me a lot of perseverance because the bar still resets. Like people will hear my story and they go, "Oh, Tanner must not get nervous anymore." I'm like, bro. It just moves. It's like if I want to start a tech company, I've never done it, then I get nervous. Mm-hmm. Or if I want to like do this thing, I get nervous. And so it's not that it changes. It's just that I don't think feelings change that much.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can, but I think a lot of times as you go through life, you'll keep feeling the same, nervousness or anxiety or confusion or I don't know, whatever. Yeah. But you just are like, yeah, like I'm going to do it anyways. It doesn't really matter. And so I just say that for anyone listening that, like you have to have that mindset because a lot of us are so scared of what's going to happen if we fail. And it's like, what you're living right now is exactly what would happen. Like,
let it fail.
Yeah. It's
Figure
like,
it
and
out.
if you're not happy with how your life currently is, you have nothing to lose.
That's the biggest fucking failure of all.
Yeah.
Living in a life where you're just
That you
comfortable
hate.
because you're scared to move.
I'll tell you, I have personal experience from failure and not being discouraged, because when football ended, that was a very depressing time for me for a bit. And the reason was, from 12 years old, I had a goal to play in the NFL, like actually play in the NFL, and I got all the way to Division I, right? I'm
right there.
I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna fucking grind through college. And like when I went into college, I wasn't highly recruited, but I was like, fuck it, it doesn't matter, all this stuff. And when I had those injuries, I had to, the doctor's like, look, bro, you can keep playing, but he's like, realistically, like you're running out of cartilage and your draft stock's gonna be lower.
Yeah.
And which is true. And so I thought, okay, like I probably need to walk away. And so when I walked away, I didn't have this like shame or like regretfulness. And the reason is I felt I'd done everything I was supposed to do. I played with a guy, he was going to go 10th pick in the draft. And he went to the second round and probably lost $10 million. Like at that time, it's probably even more now, but $10 million because he couldn't stop smoking weed. And I'm thinking, you couldn't stop smoking weed, and I had major shoulder surgeries. I was like, where would I feel more regret? The weed.
Of course.
It's so stupid. And in my opinion, I was like, he would show up to class every day. And this wasn't at BYU. This was actually when I was at a junior college. It was called Arizona Western. It was like one of the top JUCOs. It was like Last Chance U is one of those colleges, but it's actually, they shut the team down. I was actually surprised. And he would just show up all the time. Hi. And you guys can find this guy, Randy Gregory. He's had a good NFL career. He's made good money. And I just didn't have any regret because of that. And that's given me a lot of, I guess, confidence to push for stuff I want, because if it fails, you won't, the thing is like, you don't want to have regrets. It doesn't really matter what the outcome is. Like I used to think it did, but it doesn't really matter as long as you do your best. And most people won't see that and they won't know it. And society won't think that. But when you're on your deathbed, all you're going to be thinking about is like, did I do my best? You're not going to honestly give a shit what happened. And so like even the 150 million in sales, it's not that I made 150 million. It's that I did my best. And that's the result of it. So a lot of times when you actually do your best, you can have great results, but the result doesn't really matter.
It doesn't.
And a lot of people, I know that sounds cliche, but you won't understand, for most people, you won't understand that money isn't everything until you have a shit ton of money. It's just like, I wish, I remember when I was younger, I'd hear people say that and I'd say, you're poor.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you're poor. That's fine.
That's fine. Of course you would say that.
And in some cases that's true, but it really, when I hit $1 million in a month, because I had my eye on that, we hit it in 18 months. So when I started, I remember I was like, I'm going to hit $1 million in a month. I remember Billie Jean was the guy I saw. Billie Jean actually inspired me. I don't know if he knows this, but I saw an ad with Billie Jean and I wasn't jealous. I just remember thinking, man, if this guy can do it, like I can do it. It wasn't like a talky way, but it was just, I was like, if this guy like who looks like this and talks like this can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
And I remember I hit that goal and I was living in Miami. So I was still in Miami. I was paying $30,000 of rent a month. So stupid. By the way, don't do that.
Yeah, that's
David Beckham lived there, Kardashian, David Grutman. I mean, I'm talking the big of the big. Like this is the building, right? And I remember I had this party, so I invited my friends over, and they invited a bunch of nobodies I didn't know and people I didn't know. And I remember a guy came in, he's like, "Hey, bro," he's like, "Hi, what's your name?" "Tanner." "Yeah, cool. I'm John," whatever his name was. And he said, "What are you having a party for?" And I, with pride, I was like, "Bro," I was like, "I just hit $1 million in a month." And I go on this like spiel, and then he's like, "Cool," turns around, and that moment, to this day, I still remember. I remember thinking, I was kind of like, "You little fucker."
Yeah.
Like, do you understand what I just said? Like, I just said that I just made Earth. And it was in that moment that I realized nobody gives a shit.
No one cares.
And then I realized if nobody cares, and I did something that 99.99% of people will never do, hit $1 million in a month, I started to think, man, like, what does that say for Mark Zuckerberg? What does that say for Oprah Winfrey? What does that say? I started thinking of like Barack Obama, Donald Trump, like all these big people. And that's where I had to go on a little bit of a self-discovery journey. And that's where some people get religious, whatever. I don't think I got religious. I think I just got okay with that's just how it is. And so if that's how it is, then I need to do stuff that I want to do and stuff that's going to make me proud for no other reason than that.
Love it, dude.
So anyways, I've learned a lot of lessons, obviously, but that's some of the advice that I'd at least like to get out there for people to hear, because a lot of people, it's not about the money. I don't get me wrong. I like making a lot of money. It does provide a great lifestyle, but outside of that, it's not the money. I want to do stuff that makes me proud. And it just so happens that a lot of stuff that makes me proud is super difficult, which makes sense. Like extraordinary lives are built off difficult things. And so as I do them and I have success, I get what most people think life's about. And it's not that it's about that. It's nice to have it, but doing difficult things is really honestly like why I don't have regrets and why I'm proud of who I am. It doesn't have anything to do with the result.
Dude, I love it, man. Thank you so much.
Sorry, that was
dude.
the whole.
No, dude, it was great. It was what it was supposed to be, right? That's what the doctor ordered today. So, audience, like everybody, listen and watch, and just please take these lessons from Tanner and apply them to your life. Apply them how you see fit. Push the envelope a little bit. If you get nervous, just know it's the right thing to do, right? But the one thing that you never want to do is look back at your life and regret staying in the same place. So go out there and get after your shit. And until next time, stay determined.
Shawn French, what up? This one luck, I let the pain inspire me. I put my all in everything I'm doing. Up until it's done, I'm me for the entirety. I put in overtime, I be working. Just know I'ma go for mine, cause I earned it. They watching, I know it's time, I confirmed it. A whole society determined.